motivation and awareness about yourself. What are your skills? What are your abilities that you need to have? And I think something that is very close to me, myself, is that number 5. You need to be constantly very curious, willing to learn, willing to hear about what others want to share, right? Because these are skills that will help you go forward, be it in your personal or your professional life as well. And you can see number 8, right? Number 8 is something that we do in psychology. We learn a little bit of that as well in psychology. If you are to take up any counseling or counseling related modules, okay, that's something that we always emphasize, and this is something that you can always practice as well. Okay, so but zooming in, let's to the next slide. I will be covering specifically what happens, what are the soft skills, the KSAOs that we talk about in psychology, right? This is an idea from IO Psych, where we talk about matching the KSAOs of the person to the KSAOs of the job, right? So KSAOs are short for knowledge, skills, abilities, and other competencies. And I actually wrote this very, very long ago, this picture. And that's why you even see the old logo of SG Psych Stuff there, because I written this in the blog in 2014, right? So what are the knowledge that we have? We need to definitely, to become a psychologist, you need your master's, right? That's quite known already. But other than that, I always emphasize that you need to know your industry, right? You need to know what's happening in the industry. You need to know your sector, right? So that's why I put that field-related knowledge. What is the industry? What is the sector that you need to know? And on top of that, definitely through your practice and practicum, you will learn this psychotherapy skills, you will learn this counseling skills, and you will learn to be you'll learn this skills of active listening, critical thinking, problem solving, self-monitoring. You see, I written this in 2015, and those are the skills that we are talking about, like in the last slide, right? 2023. So actually, when we study psychology, these are the skills that are really preparing us for the future, right? So on top of that as well, definitely, if you study psychology, you need to learn how to do research, and you need to know how to write reports. So that's part of your learning in psychology that the course is equipping you with. But I guess the other part of it are the soft skills, right? The things that people cannot teach. And these are more towards the abilities that you can have. You can develop within yourself with time, but it's harder to teach. So the things like empathy, the things like communication skills, being sensitive to problems, and even reasoning, right? So this comes with your own experience. This comes with your own thought process that you develop over time. And I guess, I might not be the best person to talk about the other characteristics of the job, right? But depending on whether you are in a private practice or in the public sector, you need to be able to work independently as well as in a team. This is very critical, especially like in psychology, where you might be working with different allied health practitioners as well, right? And one key thing that I always say to people, please go and improve yourself on it, is the networking, right? Networking skills are very important. And last but not least, willingness to work evenings and weekends. This is not towards every job in psychology. It depends on the industry, right? But I think this part Dr. Jerry can explain a little bit more. Does she work weekends and evenings as well, right? But with this, so then the question here is, next please. So the question here is that how do I build myself in this, right? How can I develop myself in this knowledge, right? These skills, these abilities. How can I do it, right? What am I going to do about it? So with that, let me tell you, the thing that I always tell people, what are the 3 things that you need to know, okay? On the next slide, right? What are the 3 things as a psychology student you need to know, and you should do it as much as possible? Number 1, I tell people this is the acronym for lens, right? LENs. Like, you're trying to look into this industry, so bring your lens into it, right? So number 1, to learn about the industry, to learn about the job, because if you don't learn about the industry, you don't learn about the job, all you know is the job through the books or the websites or even media, right? You don't really know what is it. And so it's like a guessing work that you might be thinking about the job. So learn about the job, learn about the industry, learn about the people that you would like to work with as well, right? So the industry, the clientele, the skills that you need to know, and the role that you want to go into. And if possible, go experience it as much as possible. And by experiencing it, this can be done through volunteering. This could be done through internships as well, right? A lot of internships and volunteering to actually walk the paths of people who are walking the path, right? And you will see what you're getting yourself into. And last but not least, network. Build your networks, talk to people, talk to the people who are in the industry. Don't be shy. I think a lot of students are very shy. They're afraid to talk to people in the industry, and then very afraid to ask questions. But we won't bite. So feel free to ask any questions. I think Yasmin put up the link for the questions already. So feel free to ask us any questions. We might not be able to go through everything, but yeah, we try our best, right? So so always network, and you never know when you will need to bring back this network and to help yourself as well. Okay, so to help everybody who is here, or almost like over 20 of you who is here, I think we may be expecting a bit more coming in, but to help everybody who is here tonight, we'll go to the next slide. I'd like you to take out your phones and to scan the QR code, because SG Psych Stuff do have a Telegram group, and it's a private group, so everybody is real people there. They talk about psychology. There are nights where I sleep and wake up and I see like 70 messages, and they are just talking about psychology. There are jobs, there are internship opportunities provided. We don't give the internship opportunities, but we show you where they are, right? There are jobs opportunities there as well. There are even like volunteering opportunities, mentoring opportunities that they'll put up there, right? So scan the QR code, and we'll give you another 20 seconds to scan it, and then join the group. I think there's instructions on how to join. There is somebody there's an admin that you need to message for her to let you into the group. Okay, so come join the group, and then you can get yourself with all these resources to help you in your journey. Okay, so that's all I have, and then I think I'll hand it over to Dr. Jerry.
Thanks, Carlin. Yes. Hi, evening, everyone. Thank you for coming on on a Friday evening. So really excited to see all of you here, although I can't really see all of you. Everybody has their videos off, but nonetheless, thank you very much. What do employers look out for? When I was asked by Jerry to think about it, I was like, okay, it's quite a huge question there. So I'll speak from different angles. Perhaps I'll start with, the different types of psychologists that are available. So in psychology, we know there's not one type of psychology, but many different types of psychology. So if Megan can help me click onto the next one, which is my face. You can actually skip it, but there are many things. Okay, maybe go to my slide, the one with me. Thank you. So I think one of the questions that many people ask is, what can we do? And you see, there are a lot of things that I have on my list, not because I'm very capable, it's because I'm very ADHD, and I cannot sit still. So to sit still and talk to you, you will notice that I'm nodding my head, I'm moving around, so very, very ADHD, and it shows in the work that I do also. So I dip my toes into many, many, many different things, and it's because it is very exciting. So where can we use it? We can use it in so many different areas, not just in the clinic itself or at the center itself. And Carlin also shared about what we can do, you know, from testing to counseling to writing reports to researching. So there are a lot of things that we can do. So if we go on to the next slide, what are the different types of psychologists? I wonder whether you all know the different types of psychologists or psychology that are out there. So there's not only clinical, which deals with your depression, anxiety, eating disorder, schizophrenia. There's also different types. So there's counseling psychology, where they write on the different counseling techniques, and they base their work on that on the different frameworks. There's also sports psychology. So now we know we know that our athletes now are competing, you know, and many of our sports people have psychology. So we do have a sports psychologist that is available for all the sports people in Singapore. There is if you all watch what is that, CIA, is it, you would know that there is forensic psychology that is available. There is aviation psychology, there's consumer psychology, developmental psychology, and the list goes on. So in actual fact, we are quite spoiled for choice. So before you even embark on the next level, because for those that are taking your basic degree, you would learn different parts of psychology or different types of psychology. And you might want to ask yourself, what do you prefer before going into the next level of the masters? So Carlin was talking about internship, volunteering. Go try as many different types of works as possible, because then that helps you to make a decision or seal your decision into the direction that you would like to go into. I've got interns before who say, oh, I don't think I want to do clinical work. I think I want to do more research. But when they start interning in a clinical setting, they say, hey, it's not so bad after all. Or for one of the interns, she's now doing a lot of community engagement program work, and she learned that clinical psych is not for her, and she would want to do other things. And everything is possible. Anything is possible. It's really up to you and your preference. So what do we look for, you know, in as a fresh graduate, because most of you are coming out, you are looking at jobs out there. Besides the skills that Carlin has covered, so he's covered quite a lot of different areas, and you know, all the surveys that has been done out there. I think that curiosity he highlighted, I would also echo that. Many times I see, okay, I can't speak for everyone, but I would see young graduates or, you know, interns coming in expecting to do only counseling work, or to deep dive straight into the clinical work or the testing. Now, if you lock yourself and you just say, I only want to do one thing and one thing only, you might be shortchanging yourself, right? And you might not be able to, you're not grasping the essence of psychology. So having that open mind is definitely something we look out for. Do you dare try? Are you adventurous enough? Now, dealing with human emotions, so what I do clinical psychology, which I deal with all the different disorders. I do educational psychology, where I can do the testing and diagnose dyslexia, ADHD, and also counseling psychology. So having the different frameworks to do counseling work. So there needs to be a little bit of courage that you need to have in this field, because these are very dynamic work. But I do realize that many of you are a little bit worried, like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm afraid to try. I'm not sure if I am able to. So these would be negative self-talk that perhaps you can look into and help yourself, stop those thoughts or to process those thoughts. So the openness is another area that I definitely would say is essential for many different in many different centers. Yeah, so don't be afraid to try different things and use it in different areas also. And I think, as I was discussing with my team, they were saying that maybe you all would want to know, how does a day of a psychologist look like, an average day. Okay, so cannot go by my standard, but let's look at some of the younger ones, right? So they come in and perhaps it is getting ready for the day, so they need to settle their mind. Today there's a talk, so we had to go out and give a talk. We come back, have lunch, and then we have cases to see. So sometimes we have back-to-back cases. Now, different centers have different policies. So sometimes some organizations, they say you have to have a gap in between each case. Some organizations will have back-to-back cases and then they have a break. So it really depends on the organization, but they can be a mix of research work, maybe even content creation work. There are workshops to do. So the content creation is not just the social media content, and you need to have research done. So it's not the usual research that we are doing to write a paper, but you need to ensure that the material that you put out there is accurate. Otherwise, the lay people, the public will be misled. So that would be some of the things that I think you have questions, but that would be some of the areas that I can think of at this point in time. So I'm going to hand back, hand back over to, who do I hand back to? And then we can start the questions rolling.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Geraldine. We'll start the Q&A. So yeah, we'll let Megan share screen back to our deck of slides.
There must be Yasmin. Yes, back to you.
Yeah. So for this Q&A segment, those are questions that have been pre-submitted in the registration sign-up form. And Mr. Jerry will be leading as the moderator for Dr. Geraldine and Mr. Carlin to answer some of the questions the participants have sent in. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Yasmin. Sorry, my throat's a bit. Okay, so we'll go through the questions. As someone who has yet, and by the way, these questions are from yourselves, the participants. When you were signing up, you actually put in these questions. So we'll try to get through as many of them as we can. We might not be able to because of time, but we do our best. Yeah. As someone, the first question, as someone who has yet to enter university, how should I best prepare myself for a potential psychology career before I enter uni? Maybe shall we start with Mr. Carlin? Would you like to take that question?
Yeah, okay. How to best prepare yourself before you even get into uni? I think some of you are in uni and some of you might not be in uni yet. But I guess there's a few things to know. Number one, I mentioned about the self-awareness, right? You need to know what are your interests in psychology, right? Why are you doing psychology? It's also good to explore what are the type of people that you like to work with, because this might be your future clientele, right? Or it could be your reason for doing psychology is to help a certain group of people, right? So with that self-awareness, you move on to maybe volunteering, because you can't really go for a practicum, or it's very hard to go for a practicum without even being in uni. I think some people are able to get themselves with the internships, but not everybody can. So an advice would probably be to look for opportunities to go and do volunteering, right? Self-awareness, volunteering, or even talk to professors or talk to industry people. They would be totally happy to have a short chat with you. I think that's usually not an issue. So then you know what you're getting yourself into. I think also if you are in JC, for example, like now you're in JC, probably even talk to your ECG counselors. No, wrong. They changed names, right? They changed into your career education and career coaches, right? In your junior college or in your polytechnics as well, right? And then they would probably help you identify your interests, why you want to do psychology and things like that. Yeah.
Dr. Jerry, do you have anything to add before I move on to the next question on this point?
I think a lot of people get very excited about the word psychology these days. I suppose because it's such a sexy field to come into, right? There's a lot of illusions and fantasies about it. Yeah, so I totally agree with Carlin. Go talk to someone, figure out why you want to get into psychology. Is it because you think it's very glamorous, but do you know how grueling it is? Do you know how draining it is? And whilst it sounds like a very nice field, is it a passing fad for you? So go find out a little bit more about it. Keep your options open also, there is not just psychology that is out there. There are many different. So maybe you're very excited and you tell me, so I've heard this before, right? Oh, I like to interact with a lot of people. Then I would say, there are other fields that also need to interact with a lot of people. So is that the only reason you want to come into psychology?
I echo exactly the same. Like, I like to help people. Then I said, okay, then maybe you want to explore nursing. Helping people,
Yeah.
right? So like when I go into when Dr. Jerry is talking about the grueling journey in psychology, and then I was like, yes, it is tough.
Yeah.
When I go to when I go to junior colleges to give a talk, right? When they ask me to go to junior colleges to give a talk, I always say, can I give them a realistic and scary picture with my topic of the 5 reasons for why you should not do psychology.
Ayo.
But I give you the realistic picture, and because I think, on top of that, definitely the truth lah. The truth of what you will be doing and studying in psychology, and to be mentally prepared. I think that's the question lah. You need to be mentally prepared. Yeah.
Yes. And I suppose what people don't realize is, and I was also alerted, because I've been in this field for so long. Somebody asked me recently, so is it worth it to come into psychology? Then I started counting the years, right? 4 years of basic, degree. And then after that, you have to work at least 2 years. So that's already 6 years. Another 2 years of master's, which makes it 8 years. And then to be registered, you need 1,000 hours, which probably takes you minimally another year. So that is like 9 years. So you're looking at 9 to 10 years longer than being a medical doctor, yeah. Is it really worth it. And then I've taken my doctorate, so that's another 3-4 years. Wow, so that's like 12 years of my life just doing, okay, I shortcut many things lah, but then yeah, so I don't know, is it worth it or not?
And
Yeah.
on that note,
I mean,
and on
I
that
think
note,
the rough calculation is to be a registered psychologist in Singapore, you're probably about 30 years old by the time you hit that mark.
Ayo!
Yeah. I always do the calculations. It's around there. It's around there. 27, 28 to 30 years old. 28 for the ladies, 30 for the guys, around there.
So Carlin and Dr. Jerry, on that note, would you both recommend getting into the clinical psychology field?
Carlin, you want to go first or I go first?
I'm not in the clinical psychology field, but I guess if you're talking about career prospects, if you're talking about specifically about career prospects, I would probably say yes, right? Because that expands you to go into to be able to do many different things, right? But if you're saying that, considering the competitiveness, right? Then it's up to the individual, right? Because we are only looking at like two courses of masters in Singapore, right? There are definitely worldwide. There's many others, yeah, but it's definitely quite competitive, to get into a masters, right? So you have to consider, right? Is that really what you? Is clinical psych really your motivation, or is it just because everyone else is going in and therefore I'm going into it because everyone else is going because of FOMO, right? So you need to ask yourself that question. Yeah.
Because I'm biased, right? I really love the work that I do. So for whoever that wants to come into this field, feel free to come in. But I think if you're just looking at psychology earlier, I was talking about all the different types of psychology that is out there. There's something for everyone. So, don't monkey see, monkey do, or everybody follow the trend. It's very trendy now. Like I say, it's very sexy to come into the mental health field now. But don't just get in because you're following a trend, because you would then burn out very quickly. A lot of times people don't realize how the work is. And if you are not comfortable with the work, trust me, it is not just a job. So people like Carlin, Jerry, they're very passionate about this work. That's why you see the smiles on their faces even after an entire week. But there are colleagues that have been burnt out from the work that we do. And I'm very, very careful. I'm very maternal, because I go like, if I don't want you to come into the field and then, find that it is so draining and then you burn out. It's not fun anymore. Work has to be fun. You cannot. We teach people, we go into organizations, we go into corporate organizations, teaching them self-care, self-help, and then there we are burning out. Cannot lah. This not right. Yeah, we need to model it also. Yeah. So that's I would love people to come in, and there's more than enough. There's more enough of piece of the pie for everybody. But yes, you need to know what you want to do.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jerry. Earlier on, Carlin was actually showing this list of transferable skills that we can learn from psychology profession. Maybe Dr. Jerry, you want to give us some of your views about what are some transferable skills we can learn from a psychology profession, from the psychology profession?
It's very, very exciting. Even if you take psychology and you decide later on, like, oh, can I go into HR? the skills that you learn definitely can go into HR, training, coaching, all these areas that you can go into when you're looking at the active listening skills. And where have people gone into? So besides the training, I do know quite a number that have gone into different professions, right? So even though let's see, theater works. I've got a few colleagues there, so they don't do the counseling, but they use the concepts of psychology, and they teach people how to express themselves with their body, to be aware of bodily sensations and be aware of their body. So it's very exciting for me also. People who have studied psychology but have passion in the music, again, that's another area that they can use. They teach music, but they teach more than music. They teach you to tune in, or they teach you to express themselves, yourself, right? So it's all these different areas. I don't know, the sky is the limit. I think for me, because I'm so excited for myself, that psychology can be used anywhere and everywhere. When we talk today, I had a talk like this acculturation program for one of the hospitals for their foreign staff. And we had a really fun time using psychology in their whole orientation, in the mental well-being of themselves, and how to deal with each other, how to build a community. So, it can be used anywhere and everywhere. I think for those that are studying in university, you would have heard like consumer psychology, where the items are placed in a supermarket, how they are placed in a supermarket. It can be pleasing to the eye, or how come it's pleasing to the eye, or how come you end up buying the extra sweet because you're just at the cashier waiting and then you grab one more sweet. How come it's possible? Is it placed higher eye level or lower? All those have thought that has gone into it. Your notes that you have is also thought through, is also part of psychology. So if you ask me, psychology is everywhere. It's not confined to the counseling room.
All right, so next.
Does Carlin do?
Sorry, Carlin. Yeah, you're saying sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
All right, so moving on to the next question, which is a very interesting question. What made you, Mr. Carlin and Dr. Jerry, what made you choose your field of speciality? And most importantly, why do you choose psychology?
Should I go first? Should I go first?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So I think for me, right, actually many people don't know, but actually my background, my family background is in business. So when I was choosing I think Jerry knows about this story. Yeah, so when I was choosing psychology, right, and I was thinking, it sounds pretty good, right? You sit down, you sit down and you talk to people in an aircon room, and then after that you get paid for talking to people. So in my mind, that was psychology, right? I was like, wow, that sounds easy, because I can talk to strangers every day, because of my background in business. And then what happened was that now it's not like that. Now my kids, my young kids think that's what I do, because every day I'm talking to people, talking to my colleagues for meetings, talking to clients, You know, back to back, I'm talking and talking and talking. I'm really sitting down and talking non-stop. Yeah. That's what I really do, you know. But on top of that, definitely like what Dr. Jerry is saying, right? We do that research, you know, after talking to people, we do the research, we do all the reports, we do all these different things, right? But I think that's the starting point. That's the starting point for me. That, you know, that simple mind of not knowing what is psychology, not knowing what a psychologist does in their daily work. But, you know, as I study psychology, I always look back at, hey, what are the things that interest me, or I can apply them in my studies, right? Through my studies, what can I apply? And at that period when I was doing my undergraduate, I always been thinking about my JC period, where I was very involved in sports. I was very involved in my chess club, right? And then I thought, hey, okay, so what area applies to this? And I was also very interested in why people do the things they do, why people do silly things, you know. Like why one story, another story, like I saw a mother on the train previously, like she wanted her child to keep quiet and to sit down, and then she scolded the child. And when she scolded the child actually cried louder in the train cabin. And then in the first place, why do you even scold your child when you really expected this result, right, in the end? So I always wonder about this motivations or why people do the things they do. So that drove me to pursue my master's in that area that I'm very, very interested in performance, how to help people to perform better, right? Be it in sports, be it in education. But through that reflection, again, I know that my passion is always towards helping students. So in my almost 20 years of be it working full-time, be it working part-time, it's always to do with students, right? It's always to do with helping students. You know, I'm looking at the one of the live Q&A as well. You know, they talk about helping your first client. And I was thinking, actually, the first person that I helped was someone that I helped in my when I was doing a private tuition, right? Because he has very low motivation, and I learned about motivation in my school, and I spoke to him and I motivated him, right? To study better for his PSLE, right? So yeah, so eventually I continued in education, and I'm still in education. To me, it is not about, right, like I mentioned, it is not about the job. It is about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, right? So some people will know, weirdly, the older I get, the more I behave like a younger generation. Like in the last 10 years, I changed like 4 jobs. Yeah, like why you change 4 jobs? But I'm still in the education sector, but I've been changing jobs, right? Yeah, because there's a lot of transferable skills there. Yeah. Sorry for my long story. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Jerry.
Wow. Okay. Carlin got a lot of stories there. And in comparison, right, Carlin, I'm so boring. I knew what I wanted to do since I was in secondary school. So, but by Sec 2, I went to apply for the university to study psychology. Got in, but mommy says no, stay in Singapore. So I stayed in Singapore. But I still continue to do psychology. So many years ago, psychology was not very well known, but I was very curious. Similar to Carlin, right? Why people do the things they do. I was very curious about behaviors. How come some people manifest, different sort of behaviors and make certain decisions. At the time, I didn't have a explanation or a name for it, so I just wanted to figure out, and psychology gave me some answers. I mean, at that point in time, yeah. So it was interesting to find out about biopsych, about neuropsych, about, all the different psychology when I was studying. And it sealed my passion for it. I was very excited finding out more and more about psychology. Which area of psychology? I think, to be very honest, it was really just dependent at that time of whatever that was available at that 20 over years ago, what was available then, right? So it was more skewed towards counseling, clinical work. And that was the world that I was exposed to, which, thank goodness, I was very intrigued by it and very mesmerized by all the different topics. And I wanted more people to know about it. So at that time, there was no such thing as mental health advocacy work, mental wellness, mental well-being, mental health awareness. All these words are of recent times, as recent as 3-4 years ago, and just really magnified during the protracted COVID period. So at that point in time, I wanted people to feel better. So I'm a very feelings person, very emotive person. I wanted people to feel better. And that was my objective. I want people to know that they can feel better. And I knew it wasn't just about the physical health. So it's not just medical. And there started, so I wanted more and more people to know. So how I wanted more people to know was I took to the media. So I'm actually quite a scaredy cat. Whenever the lights, so in the past, right, these journalists will come, or producers will come with that big light, and then they shine on you, and then, oh my goodness, every time my hands and my palms will sweat. But I realized that so many people misunderstood what psychology is all about. They think it is crazy people, about people that cannot be helped, aggressive people. So there's a lot of myth and a lot of myths surrounding these clinical disorders. And worse, when I first started, right? So now I'm much older already. When I first started, they would take one look at me and go, so young can be psychologists. I think to myself, okay, what does a psychologist look like lah? So in the past, they must have thought all psychologists are white hair, bearded old men, Caucasian looking. And it was really interesting for me, to try and push it across. And I'm glad I did, because at that point in time, I really wanted to open up the path for young ones to be able to come into the field of psychology and continue the work. And I'm so glad that so many of you are so interested in psychology. I don't know. I can go on forever, about even the different groups of people that I love to help. So the young ones, so educational psychology, I use it for the young ones where they need dyslexic testing, autism testing, ADHD testing. But we also do the behavioral management with them. So those that are maybe you've just graduated and you have a bit of time, we need a lot of behavioral therapists around. So you do not need a master's for that. You can actually assist the main therapist. Then I do the teens, which many of you are still in your teens or just coming out of your teens, having existential issues. Then the young adults with transition issues, clinical issues, marital issues, and now working on the geriatric issues. So I really work the whole spectrum, which is very exciting. I love the whole developmental spectrum, developmental cycle. And I think there's still more to do. So before I continue, I think continue more. Jerry, please take over.
Okay. Next slide. Next set of questions. Okay. So what are some traits that clinics look out for in psychology graduates to be willing to give them a job opportunity? I think Dr. Jerry, this applies a lot to you. So what do you look for in the graduates that join you?
Yeah, so the graduates nowadays, because you do need to be registered. So when you don't have a master's, then you can only be what we call an assistant psychologist. Assistant psychologist has a very limited scope. You don't have the full scope of what a psychologist does, but you do assist us in the work that we do. So you need to be open to support the psychologist, to shadow them around. Earlier I mentioned about the behavioral work. So sometimes we might come up with a program for, let's say, a child with autism or ADHD child, and you need to follow through with a program. Or even, let's say, for a client that has OCD and we have a structure, and then you can check in with them. We need someone to check in with them, maybe alternate days or even daily. These would be things that you can do. So that openness to try everything. So in my center, we have something called Try Everything. So you cannot be scared and say, no, I cannot do, or I'm scared to do. If you're scared to do, then who else can do? When are you going to learn? How are you going to learn? Right? So that courage, the excitement, that openness to try, that sense of adventure. I always call it an adventure. Our day is an adventure every day.
Thank you. Are there, actually, the next question is also relevant to you. Are there some tips on securing a job in a clinic? And I'm assuming it's a private setting, especially if one doesn't have much experience.
I think the best bet is to go in as an intern. So usually when you're parked as an intern, you get to sit and observe and shadow. You don't get to do much of the work, but at least you immerse yourself in the environment. Because if you go in and you realize it's not for you, you can bail out. There's no cost opportunity on either side. So if you don't have much experience, gain experience in different ways. That would really help you to make a decision, and also help the whichever clinic or center to also see whether you are suited. Yeah, because when you go in as an intern, you will have a supervisor, and you can always chat and check in with the supervisor what might be suitable for you. And most of us in the helping sector are very, very nice, so we won't bite you. We would help you to navigate through this difficult time. So it's slightly different from a corporate setting where you might hear more scary stories. Most of us are like Carlin, Jerry, and myself, who are, maybe I'm not so nice, but maybe they are nicer, We won't bite you one. We will really guide you along.
I really won't. I don't have, don't have any fetish of that nature.
And moving on.
Really? I was talking about that. Oh my God.
But
moving on.
I guess maybe I put a little bit of input for this, like in terms of looking for job opportunities and securing a job, right? Especially if you don't have any experience. I think the question here is that I think like what Dr. Jerry mentioned, that willingness to try. to do different things, because like very similar to what I always tell undergraduates, just try to do as many things as possible, learn different things. Don't just only study, because if you try many different things, you never know when your path might go in your work, right? Be it through your volunteering, be it through your internships, right? If you do different things, you learn different skills, and you never know when you come in handy. Like Jerry will know that I've been volunteering in the psychology sector for a very, very long time, and I've been doing events, right? Since like 2012, 2013, all the way to like 2019, right? Like 7 years, just keep doing events and events and events, to the point that now, you know, at my full-time work, you give me any small event, I think I can draw out the works for you, right? And just plan everything to do it properly. Although I'm not trained in event management at all, right? It's that experience building that you get to be able to do different things. And also knowing what, you know, what skills you have. I think that's important. What skills you don't have, then you build yourself in those as well. Yeah.
So and you know, Dr. Gerald was saying about, you know, getting as much experience, and Carlin was saying, you know, learn a lot. I suppose that would help to build a good portfolio for a person applying for their masters in clinical psych as an undergraduate. Anything else you might want to add on top of those points? Maybe Dr. Jerry.
To build on the skills. Sorry,
to build on the portfolio. So what can they do to build a good portfolio when applying, you know, to show for when they're applying for their masters in clinical psychology as an undergraduate?
So the volunteering in different areas. So sometimes when you volunteer, you tend to only volunteer in one area. So it becomes very myopic, you see. If you're talking about the clinical psychology, you're talking about very difficult. Sometimes it can be quite difficult clients that you deal with. You know, you're talking about split personality, you're talking about schizophrenia. So people like it because it appears very mysterious. So, you know, don't let it be a mystery to you. Break the magician's code, right? You know, and go and deep dive into it. Find out a little bit more. Be in touch with them. I think, you know, going into I was hearing some of the graduates, they love maybe because we are all very blessed and we have a lot of resources, so they're very specific in the areas that they want to deal with, and they dare not dirty their hands. You know, go into areas that might not be too sexy, too nice. So when you're dealing with a geriatric, and not everything is fine and dandy. How many of you know that, you know, for the autistic children, you know, sometimes, or the children with behavioral issues, we get spat on, you know, and one little boy with anger management issues. I remember that I was pregnant with my first boy, and my tummy was really huge at that time, but he was a tiny tot, you know, this little boy. But he was so angry. He came and then he hit my tummy. Immediately, my tears came out. You know, and all the nurses had to hold him back and say, Jerry, go away. And nothing triggered him. He was just triggered by something, you know. And stories like these, people don't hear. They hear the good stuff only, you know. So are you willing to put yourself in such a position, rather than looking at only the good parts of the career, right? So these are things that maybe, you know, going into the environment, you start to see, you start to experience. It's not just a collection. So I'm very, very particular about people that come in with a whole string of different achievements and a collection of internships. So I do not want people to collect. I don't think any employer wants you to collect internships to write on your CV. We want you to experience the internship. We want you to experience the good, the bad, the ugly. And then that's where you build up your own resilience in the field of psychology. And you know that okay, I go in, I'm prepared, I know what to expect. I cannot know everything, but at least there's a part of it that I have experienced already or I've seen happening, and I would want to continue with it. So it helps you and ensures that it prevents you from that burnout that I was talking about.
Helps you to know what you want, what you really are interested in. Right. Thank you, Dr. Jerry. Carlin, you have anything to add to that?
I think I echo what Dr. Jerry is saying earlier, because I think I said a similar thing to a bunch of students a couple of days ago. It's better to have 3 internships of varied experience, varied skills, as compared to 3 internships doing the same thing, and then you zoom in to do the same thing, and then you don't get a repertoire of skills and knowledge of in different industries. So that's something that you need to look at. And also, I think if you're talking about that last question of masters in clinical psych, right? Do consider not just the applied area as well. Do consider the research side of psychology as well, right? To get some experience in that area, because when you apply for the masters, and then if you get in, you have to do research as well, right? And that's what the universities might be looking for. Yeah. So both sides of the plate. Yeah.
All right, let's look at the next set of questions. Okay, study tips for psychology modules in university. Mr. Carlin, you want to take that?
Study tips? Work hard.
For psychology modules in university.
Study hard.
Dr. Jerry.
Yeah.
Dr. Jerry, anything?
There's a lot of reading. So
Yes.
if you're already in the studying psychology, you would know. Yeah. I think there will always be modules that excite us more and modules that don't excite us as much. But you need to give equal weightage and even more to those that you don't quite enjoy.
Yes.
Because the one that you prefer, you take lesser time to read it, okay? But the one that you don't really like, you may take a little bit more time.
Like research? Like research?
Like research, well, research to me, it depends on what kind of research, but the stats always got to me. Yeah, I really hated stats. Okay, for those that
Maybe I give one tip lah. This is something that I always tell myself when I was a student. Was that always be open to ask your lectures and your professors questions, because if you don't ask, you may never get it answered. And if you don't ask, I mean, Singaporeans, we are a bit thick-skinned, we are a bit shy, we don't like to ask questions. And if we don't ask, maybe somebody else has the same question and they want it to be answered, right? And the thing is that we are sitting there in a lecture hall or in a tutorial room, and I always have that mindset. I put that picture in my mind that the longer I sit here, I'm burning money, because I'm paying for my school fees, right? So every time I sit here, I'm burning money. If I don't ask questions, I'm actually wasting my money. That's the thought that I imprinted in myself, because back then I was really paying for my own school fees. Yeah. So I said I better make my money worth, man. I have to ask as many questions as possible. Yeah. So yeah. So ask questions.
Yes, ask questions. Very good. What are, and I think this one's more relevant to you, Mr. Carlin. What are other fields unrelated to psychology that psychology graduates can enter, and how can we build our experience to gain an edge?
Unrelated to psychology. I mean, to me, psychology is a field that, as long as we have interaction with people, it's good to learn psychology, right? But I think there are definitely other fields. We do see people who study psychology going into education, to be a teacher,
Drama.
to even go into social media, which is the booming thing now. I mean, there are definitely fields that it's harder for us to go in, that require a lot more technical experience. Like, for example, like if you are getting into a IT kind of related, that job that requires you to have that technical skill, that might be harder, right? But I think anything that, because how I see psychology as a degree, or even as a diploma, if for those who are doing a diploma, is that it is a generalist kind of diploma or degree. It is not a specialized diploma or degree. Because when I say specialized, we are referring to, if I study medicine, what's the job that I do? Doctor. If I study nursing, what do I do? Nurse. If I study, it's very boring, right? If you study something that's very specialized and then you go into that just one job, right? But actually, there are people who do many other things. So psychology tends to enable you to be able to broaden that choice, and it's really up to your own imagination, right? Of what you would like to do, what's your interest, right? And from there, go and try, right? If you don't try, you never know. And when you try, you build your own experience, and then you build your own edge, and you build your own value. I always talk about value, right? How do you increase your value? So try, you never know. Yeah.
And Dr. Jerry, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I guess because I really love to apply it anywhere and everywhere, right? So I see it everywhere that I go, whether it is a colleague that is working in the elder care center, or the, what do you call that? You were talking about the theater. So there are many mental health topics or mental health works. I think some local works that has been done for mental health also. And it is very exciting. Producers also that so the if you're talking about like screen, so the producers also can have a bit of psychology background, and they can produce wonderful works, and they reach more people, they educate more people, more lay people also about it. And I think I'm very excited about the animal assisted therapy, or no, not therapy. Singapore doesn't have that. Singapore has animal assisted services. So like equine services, the little doggies, the therapy dogs. Yeah, and we need somebody to helm that, you see, which, I'm very excited, to go into all these different areas and know that psychology is everywhere. Yeah. So even yoga. So yes, and whatever that I say, right, I try to do it. So I'm trained in yoga, and to teach yoga to the little ones also, and to use it as therapy. Yeah, and then I'm going to explore a little bit about like equine services for the geriatrics. I've seen how it works with the special needs children, and I really am floored by it. So that's why I say psychology is not confined in the room itself. Bring it out there, and then rather than us telling you what other areas you can use it for, maybe you will be telling us where it can be used in, and I would be very excited to learn more about it.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jerry. Now, the next question is, I think, applicable to both of you. And the question is, what is a skill mindset that you learned through your experience and through your work, and hope to tell those who are taking their psychology degree with uncertainty? So what's a skill mindset that you have learned through your work, through your experience, and what would you hope to tell those who are taking their psychology degree with uncertainty?
I like
Who
how
wants to
the
go
word
first?
I like how the word uncertainty is bold, and immediately I have this thought that someone had said before, embrace uncertainty with love. And I thought that was very, very powerful. Yeah, so if we look upon uncertainty with a lot of trepidation, a lot of dread, a lot of like heaviness, then we're not going to enjoy whatever that we are learning. It would just be dreadful. Okay, but when we embrace it with love, we go, okay, I think I can do it. I think I have enough resources and skills and, some foundation. I'm not stupid, right? So I can learn. Let me start learning. And then you open up your door, right? And that is, to me, very exciting. One principle that I often hold on to is to do anything and have fun with it. So I want all of us to have fun with our studying, with our work. It keeps the fire burning, we become very excited to want to find out more. So that's the curiosity part of things. We want to learn more. We want to find out more. And our thirst for and hunger for new information will not stop. So it's really, after even so many years, it's just amazing how much more psychology can is there about psychology that is there to learn. I mean, there's so much to learn, in psychology. So uncertain, every day is uncertain. Anything is uncertain. Yeah. And if we stop just because things are uncertain, then we have to stop many, many things. Then we are paralyzed.
So what you're saying is to keep learning and don't stop when you are uncertain.
To face it, head on.
Yes.
Surely can go through one. It's okay.
All right, thank you. How about you, Mr. Carlin?
I don't know how to say it better than than Dr. Jerry has already said it, right? I mean, the word that keep coming to me is just try it, right? If you're scared, if you don't know what you're doing, just try. It's okay. You are a student, right? There's no harm in trying, and you are young. A lot of people say, "Hey, I'm very afraid. How will this affect my future?" And then I always ask the question, "How old are you? 22? Like, just try. What's the harm with doing? What's the harm with doing this for like a year? And you never know what happens, right? So just try. If you're not sure, just try it. Trust, like Dr. Jerry say, just do it, right? And I think something that I bring to myself as well is that, are we looking at this thing that we are going to do? Is it a challenge, or do I see it as a challenge, or do I see it as a threat? Right, trying to move all these threatening views of the thing that we are about to go forward with, to look at it as a challenge, because if we change our mindsets towards it now, we are more willing to progress towards it as well. So that's what I would put there. But I guess some other things that I get through work is knowing your own boundaries as well. I think that is very important to me. I always tell people, please draw your work. People always say work-life balance. But let your work become part of your life. And I say that, no, I like to draw work-life boundaries, right? After a certain time, don't call me. After a certain time, let's let myself be myself, and let work be work, and then I'll deal with it tomorrow. Get somebody else to do that work for a while, and then I'll come back to it tomorrow, right? So for me, that's what and it helps, because it helps myself, it helps my team to be able to deal with what we need to do with the next day and every day. Yeah. So make sure you take care of yourself. I think that's important. Yeah.
Okay, more questions. Do we have more questions?
I think they are swapping over to some of the live questions.
Okay, live. Okay.
Yeah, because now it's already 8:50. I know we run over time. yeah, we have gone for over
Oh
an
no,
hour.
poor Dr. Jerry. So many
So-
to Dr. Jerry.
so maybe, yeah.
Hi,
Okay.
hi. I'm like, okay.
Okay, the first question, that does the therapy room offer paid internships, and are there specific periods for it?
Okay, so paid internships, my other colleagues in other centers do offer. For myself, I don't offer paid internships. I do accept interns, but I don't have paid internships for the very reason because I want to see the passion. And sometimes money taints a lot of this for the interns because if I'm looking for someone that is shopping for the highest paid, sorry, Auntie Jerry. So the interns, they don't call me Auntie Jerry. But most of you are very young, so I always say Auntie Jerry looks for passion. I look for passion in the work, and and sometimes I cannot see the passion, which is very sad for me. If for it's not for me. If I don't see passion and it's just a job, first of all, it's dangerous for you. And the clients that you see, I feel it would not benefit them.
Yeah.
The second question, do I accept diploma holders? I have tie-ups with Ngee Ann Poly as well as Singapore Poly. You can apply through your schools. So the internship period is usually 4 to 5 months. I think 4 months, 3 to 4 months, I think. Yeah. So yes, I do accept diploma hold those that are going through the whole internship period.
And what are some prerequisites and skills that clinics may look for before taking on an intern? Is it possible to do a clinical internship in year 1 or 2?
So for most centers, especially clinical centers, I would encourage you to come in when you are slightly older, because I do realize that the younger ones may not be emotionally prepared, especially when you face someone with OCD or someone that has issues that may trigger you also, existential issues. You might not be comfortable enough, and it might be dangerous for the psychologist also. Why? Because if you're sitting in with us, with the client, and we see you triggered, you're not helping us. We have to look after the client, and we have to look after you. So who do we look after? That would be very disruptive for the whole therapeutic process. So that's where I'm quite particular who comes in and who sits into the session also. So yeah, not being mean, but trying to keep everybody safe. And if everybody is melting down in front of me, then Jerry will melt down also. No, Jerry won't melt down, but Jerry will, oh my gosh, what's happening? Yeah. So having said that, I've had younger ones that are also really amazing and approach things with a mindset that is quite matured, and I've been quite impressed with them. And these have I mean, it would take them very, very far, but we don't have many of those. Carlin, you
Alright.
unmuted yourself, so you wanted to speak.
No, I just want to do a shout out. Like, if you can't do an internship, it's okay. You can come to SG Psych Stuff to do a mentoring. Yeah, we have an annual mentoring that happens. We haven't opened our application yet. Our application opens next month. Probably mid of September. So do check out our website. And then to register for our mentoring for 2024. Right? To different mentors, to know what skills you need, to develop yourself a little bit. Yeah.
Next set of live questions. Okay, to Carlin, Mr. Lee, would you recommend studying abroad for psychology?
Why would I recommend studying abroad? I did study abroad, so
Hmm.
I okay. So I guess it depends. Okay, back then, I think 15 years ago, I would say yes. For me, that's why I went abroad, because the cost of studying psychology in Singapore versus the cost of me studying in Australia, plus my living cost in Australia was very similar, right? So that's why I decided I'll go, because back then, to me, it was like, hey, I pay the same amount of price, and I get to get a overseas experience. Why not? Right? So that was back then. But now I think the question is that because of the changes in the whole international scene of psychology, every country has its different kind of systems for registration in psychology, right? So Australia has their own system, UK has their own system, US has their own system. I mean, every other country can have their own system. Singapore, we have our own system as well, which is still developing in time. So my recommendation is that if you were to go overseas to study for psychology, do make sure that you become a registered or a licensed psychologist in that country before you come back, right? Because you never know that what if I study what if I study overseas and then I come back and register with Singapore, and they might say, no, you can't register here because the policy is different, right? So my recommendation is do get your registration and licensure overseas if you're going there, and then you come back. Yeah. So that's like one extra step.
Right.
So I think the next question was also for me, right? Have I considered pursuing a PhD? What's your thought process? Answer is yes. I have really considered. Maybe I give a little bit of story. I have too many stories. I was offered a doctorate, but I didn't take it up. Right, I didn't take up my doctorate. I rejected. Like when I was doing my masters, I was offered a doctorate. I did not take it up. And then when I finished my masters, I regretted it a little bit, right? Because now I can't call myself a doctor, right? So it was an ego problem. But after that, I really thought hard and deep on, do I need a PhD to do my work? And after thinking it through, it's still an ego problem for me, right? It's still an ego problem. I don't need a PhD to do what I want to do at the current moment, and at the current moment, I have no thoughts of like working as a full-time academic, which is the normal process, the pathway if you do a PhD for most PhD, right? I don't see myself in that track. So I thought, nah, I'm not going to do a PhD. Maybe a master's in clean psych, maybe a master's in med psych, something a bit more practical that I can use. Yeah, but I've pretty much given up on that process of PhD. Yeah.
Thank you, Carlin. I think this one applies to both. I think this person's asking, I like to break out of my current work experience of special ed, I think. But I'm facing challenges to break out of the box I'm in. Any advice from either one of you? Yeah.
I'm not sure what this person means by breaking out of the box, but maybe I can share one of my educational side her experience. And her track was educational psychology, and she works in a SPED ed environment for the longest time, and she would do testings for SPED ed, or she would do behavioral work for the autistic children, and behavioral management. But I'm very impressed with her. 2 children on, and she's still learning, going into the different counseling tools to learn. So she's doing diploma in not diploma, certification in CBT. She's looking at family therapy. And her question to me is, oh Jerry, after I've taken it and I feel a bit more confident, can I then take on these cases, other cases, general cases? And my answer is yes, because if she is so eager to do it, you know, I'm sure she would do well because she has all the foundation already. So that's why I say I'm not sure what this person is asking about breaking out of the box. So we were talking about having an open mind, try everything, learn, and as long as you're willing to open those doors for you and you're willing to ask, the doors will be open for you.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry. You know, when you said try everything, the Shakira song was playing in my mind.
Which is true. When we have camps for the children and we want to teach them try everything, that's precisely the song we
The
play.
song you play, right? Okay, in the interest of time, we have one last set of slides or questions, and then we will have a photo taking. For those whose questions we are unable to put through to the speakers, really sorry, but these are the last two questions we have for tonight. Okay, so the first one: what's the difference between clinical psych, applied psych, counseling, etc.? There are a lot of different programs now which are worded differently, which makes it very confusing on how to choose them. So any one of you?
Carlin from the academic side.
Oh, from the academic side. Okay. So okay, this is based. I have to say where my basis is. Just a disclaimer first. I researched a lot into different programs in Singapore, so I'm coming from that angle. Okay, so in Singapore, if we talk about applied psychology programs, because this question is about programs, right? Technically, there are only about 6 programs in Singapore that are applied psychology, right? These are the NUS and JCU Masters in Clin Psych, the NIE Masters in Applied Psychology for Counseling and Educational Psych, 2 separate ones, as well as SUSS, Forensic, and IO Psych, right? The key thing here is because when we talk about the applied psych component for the programs, we are specifically saying that there is a practicum component to it, right? Be it how many hours it is, practicum component plus your dissertation plus coursework. So that's what the programs are looking at. And if you think about I'm not the right person to answer the part about the clinical psych bit. In terms of clinical psych, it is probably working in terms of mental health, right? That's what most of the cases would be within, and definitely you will learn about different kind of developmental, some of the developmental kind of disorders as well. That's how I'll explain, with the majority being towards the mental health conditions, because yeah, there can be others lah, right? It's like clinical psych tend to be quite covers quite a lot. In terms of masters in counseling, that's totally a different field. That's not under the Psychology Society. Masters in counseling is specifically under Singapore Association. So accredited by the Singapore Association of Counseling, in short, SAC. Yeah, just find the website up there. Then you know that you can do, talking in terms of providing that
Oh, I think Carlin is hung. I think you're breaking up. Dr. Jerry. Oh wait, let's see. If
Is
not,
he back?
doesn't seem. It's intermittent.
Am I hanging?
Yeah, you were hanging just
Oh,
now.
shucks. Where did I stop? Oh, where did I stop? Sorry.
I think the last
Where did I
I
stop?
heard, the last,
Counseling, I think, Masters of Counseling.
yeah, Masters in Counseling, yes.
So Masters in Counseling, you probably need to look at the SAC website. Yeah, and then you'll find the list there. Yeah.
Yep.
The next one for Dr. Jerry.
Mm.
How are you able to do so many different kinds of psychology? And these are the three. And how long did it take you to be certified in them?
Ayo, okay. I mean, I've gone all the way to the doctorate, right? How am I able to do? I already said right at the beginning, quite ADHD, so I would not be able to focus on one thing and one thing only. It's both a curse and a gift at the same time. So, and every part of it is very exciting. If I look at clinical and all the different clinical disorders, those are really, really exciting. You know, I have someone in my room that I will go, who are you today? Because this person has split personality, and then they have 3 different personalities, and I go like, oh no, which one am I seeing today? You know, so that is exciting. Someone that has maybe, you know, dyslexia, and then when I hear the different signs and symptoms, and to be able to say, okay, maybe we should do testing, and to be able to do the testing, there's another area that is also fun. I mean, the testing, some people find it fun, some people find it boring, but the whole process where you're able to help someone better their lives, that is fun for me. The counseling aspect, so my toolbox, I still don't have all the different counseling tools, but to be able to learn about them, whether it's CTRT, EMDR, even hypnosis, you know, all those are really fun. And to see how it works in the session, and to see the faces come in all dark and to leave your room with hope and brightness, that makes a difference for me, you know. So it really brightens up the day, especially if it's a very blah day. And sometimes psychologists do have blah days, you know. We are only human, we have bad days also. But no, having that knowledge that you can give hope to someone, that keeps me going, I suppose. Yeah. So the doctorate, you know, I took it all the way to doctorate. Like I say, it took many, many years. Yeah, the time that is invested, I think, to me, is a joy.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry. Yasmin, you can take over now.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
So I think for the questions, we'll be ending it here. And yeah, I would just like to apologize for like the other questions that we're not able to answer.
But before that, thank you, Dr. Jerry. Thank you, Mr. Carlin, for all your inputs. I think they were very insightful. And I think that we have learned a lot from the both of you. So thank you so much for all your insights on all these questions and your answers to all these questions. All right, Yasmin.
Yeah. So now we'll just take a simple photo. And if you guys are comfortable, please kindly just turn on the video and we'll just take a quick photo. Yeah. Okay, we'll just give a bit a second. Okay. One second, yeah. We'll just let Megan unshare it first. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, I see more faces now. I'll just retake another one. Thank you for turning on your cams. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right. And we'll just kindly need your help to fill up a feedback form. Give us 1 second to share it again, yeah. Yeah, we can kindly scan the QR code on the screen, and we'll appreciate your response so we can know like what are some topics you would like us to cover for our next event, or how we can do better in our next event. And once you have completed the feedback, then I think you guys are free to leave. Yeah. And thank you once again to our speakers and also you guys for attending the talk. Yeah.
Jamie says thank you for sharing. Thank you, Jamie. All right.
Thanks, Dr. Jerry, for agreeing to do this.
Yeah,
No
thank you
worries.
for
Thanks
coming
for the
in.
invitation also. It was really fun.
Sorry.